In today's video, we are going to be creating a little game in Python called Guess the Number. And what we have to do is basically guess a random number that the computer chooses between 1 and 10. So let's have a look at how this works. You'll see here we've got guess a number between 1 and 10. So I'll just start from 1 and go up from there. So it tells you if you get it right or wrong. So in this case, sorry, you guessed incorrectly. Try again. So I'll try 2, no, 3, 4, there we go, we got it correct. So I guessed the number 4 and it says congratulations, you guessed the number correctly, and our game finishes. Okay, so that's what we're going to be making today. To get started, I just want you to go to the File and New File option in Python there. Whoops. You can close the shell off if you want to. Alright, sorry, just had to close a few windows there, but you need to start with a blank screen like so. Now the first thing we need to do to get our game started is we need to get the computer to come up with a random number between 1 and 10. Okay, if we were to play this game multiple times, we don't want it to always be the same number, because that wouldn't be very fun. So we're going to get the computer to generate a random number each time we play the game. Okay, and to do that, we're going to actually import a library of code, which has already been written for us, and that will save a lot of space in our code. So the first line of our program today is going to be import random. Okay, that random library is code written by somebody else. Once we've got that in, we're going to create a variable called x. X is basically our mystery number that the computer is going to come up with. Okay, so x will equal, and now we're going to use some of this random library code. Okay, so it's going to be random dot rand range, and then in brackets 1, 10. Okay, so let's just break this down and explain what's happening. So our x variable is going to be equal to random, that just accesses the random library, and it's accessing a section in that library called rand range. Okay, and then in brackets 1 to 10. So it's just saying that the range we want to work with is between the numbers 1 and 10. Okay, that's our range of numbers that the computer is going to pick a random number from. Alright, hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Then what we're going to do is we're going to ask the user to enter their guess. Okay, so we need to create another variable, and that variable is going to be called guess. So guess will equal, we're going to do an input, so the user has to actually input something or type in a number, and we're going to put in brackets and quotation marks, guess a number between 1 and 10. Put a colon, space, close your quotation marks and close your brackets. Now because the user is entering a number only, no letters or anything like that, we want to make sure that that number is an integer. So before the word input, write the letters int and put some brackets around that input statement. That makes sure whatever the user types in here will be converted from a string into an integer or a whole number. Okie doke. So moving down now, we can start our while loop up. Okay, so basically while the user has not guessed the number correctly, we want to keep running our program. So let's put in the word while the guess is not equal to, that there with an exclamation mark and an equal sign is another way of saying not equal to x. So while our guess is not equal to the random number the computer came up with, there's x up there, then we're going to perform the following code. Okay, now you'll see that it's been indented, this code. That's just showing that this code is a part of the loop. So we're going to print a message that tells the user they haven't got the number correct yet. So we'll say, sorry, you guessed incorrectly. Try again. Okay, and at the very end there, I'm just going to do a \n, which pushes the next, or basically makes an empty line in our program. So we've got a blank space before we try our next guess. Close the quotation marks, close the brackets. I'll show you what that means when we actually run the program. Okay, and then we just display this line of code again, so they get another guess. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it down here. So guess equals integer. We tell the user to have another guess. Simple. Alright, so that's the code that's going to get looped over and over again. Now the last thing that we need to put in is what happens when they actually guess the number right. So I'm just going to put in the print, and in brackets, congratulations, you guessed the number correctly. Now you'll notice that this code here has been pushed back and it's no longer indented. And that means that it's no longer part of this loop up here. So the loop has ended, and this is actually separate to the loop. Alrighty, so let's go through our code. This is all we need to write. So we import the random library to start with, and we get the computer to generate a random number between 1 and 10. Okay, it comes up with that number, but we don't know what it is yet. Okay, the next step is to get a guess from the user. Okay, they're going to guess a number between 1 and 10, and they're going to type it in. And the computer is going to store that number in the guess variable. Okay, now we start a loop of code. Okay, so while the guess is not equal to x, so the random number the computer came up with, we're going to print a message and say, sorry, you guessed incorrectly, try again. This makes an empty line, a bit of empty space before it asks the question all over again. Okay, so the guess variable will be wiped, and it will now ask the question again to guess a number between 1 and 10, and it will be updated with their new guess, or the user's new guess. Okay, if they get it wrong, then the code comes back around here, and it just prints that they got it wrong again, and they need to have another guess. If they get it right, however, okay, the loop will say, well, the guess is not equal to x, but if the guess is equal to x, then it just jumps out of this loop and it says, okay, I don't need to read that code anymore. I'm going to come down and read the next line, which is this one here, and it says basically, congratulations, you guessed the number correctly. And that's game over. So I'm going to save that and we'll test it out. Okay, so you can call it whatever you want. I'll just call it number guess. Run the module. Let's see what happens. So guess a number between 1 and 10. I might start at the top. Go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. I'll get this in a minute. 2. There we go. So at long last we got that right. So number 2, congratulations, you guessed it correctly. But you can see this code looping over and over again until I got it correct. Okay, it kept. I'll just move this to the side. Sorry, just get these windows right. So each time I got the number incorrect, it would tell me that I got it incorrect. Okay, and it would leave a space and then ask the question again. Okay, so it would tell me to guess the number yet again. Alright, eventually when I got it right, it just jumped out of that code and printed this last line here saying congratulations. Alrighty, so hopefully that makes a bit of sense. I just wanted to expand on this while loop that we learned in the previous tutorial. Just wanted to get a little bit more technical in this one. And you also now know how to generate random numbers, which can come in quite handy for some of the games you can create in Python. Alright, so I will see you in the next video.